Hey everybody, Andy from Tennis Euphoria, bringing you a review of the Tecnifibre TFx1 V2. So I'm prioritising the 305 gram 98 square inch V2 for a review, as this is a new iteration of the TFx1. The TFx1 in itself is a relatively new line within the Tecnifibre range of rackets. The TFx1s are designed by Tecnifibre to be, I believe, they're power and spin rackets. I have had a previous version of the TFx1 300 grams, and I've got the review on that's out probably next week. As you can see, my initial hitting experience with this TFx1 305 was a bit strange. It was rattly. I thought at first that was the X-Damp technology, which I'm not particularly familiar with. That's a steel rod in the handle designed to minimise vibrations. I then realised though that I think I had a faulty frame. Something was in the frame rattling around. It was very off-putting. The retailer that I bought it from was great and replaced it straight away. We have a new head shape. It's quite circular with the TFx1. That's the case across all of the lines. And this is a bit of a monster of a frame. Mine was over spec at 310 grams unstrung, and my measured swing weight with Tecnifibre Razor code was 343. So this is quite a head-heavy, really difficult to swing frame, which offers loads of plow through if you're able to handle it. I believe that this is probably quite a stiff frame. If you were to research what Tecnifibre talk about, they describe it as being very rigid. I can't find stiffness ratings anywhere, even though, of course, RA doesn't tell a whole story, but my guess is that this would be very similar to what you'd find in things like pure drives and up in the 70s in terms of an RA stiffness. And I think it's pretty stiff, across the frame. And that's probably why the X-Damp technology is there. That's claimed to reduce vibrations by 36%, protecting your arm and offering less muscle fatigue. The interesting thing for me was how would that transfer then to feeling the frame. It is quite muted, and but I actually did feel relatively connected to the string bed. I think the sweet spot is relatively generous, and that circular head, if you're optimized in terms of your connection points to hitting with a circular head, then you'll do quite well with it. It can pack a punch. I found actually that the launch angle was much lower than I was expecting. I guess the sort of subtle yellow colours makes you think about spin lines, Dunlop SX lines, of course the Pure Aero. I didn't find this to be a huge spin generator, and it doesn't offer natural insurance with a high launch angle over the net. I actually found that the launch angle was quite a low trajectory, and you combine that with that big swing weight, then it's pretty easy, I found, to drop a ball into the net on volleys and put away shots. It can be a bit sluggish, so it's hard to use. So I think this is, definitely something that should be considered by physically strong and able players who are likely to be at the advanced end of the playing spectrum. Once you settle into it, does have a degree of reliability about it, but I was finding quite a big adjustment for me to be able to play consistently with it. I also struggled a little bit on serve, and of course, power equals velocity, doesn't it, over weight, and I think this was just a little bit too heavy in swing weight for me to be able to get enough sort of racket head speed through on my serve, so that's something to keep in mind as well. I did get some other people to hit with the frame, not in this clip, but the person I'm hitting me with here, Tom, found it to be pretty sluggish. He plays with a pure drive at the moment. He actually quite liked the feel and the response. I gave it to one of my hitting partners, Seb, to hit with. You'll see a clip of that in a minute. He's hitting on the other end at the moment with the 300 grams. He much preferred the 300 gram, and that's, I think, quite relevant. Seb, as you'll see in a minute, is very, very physically able. He's 6'7", great player, very, very strong, very well coordinated human being. So for Seb to find this racket a lot to swing, I think is telling a story. Here he is hitting with it now. He had to really concentrate on his strokes and really had to brush up on his strokes to make sure that that launch angle was okay. He also found it to be pretty sluggish at the net. Seb hits an absolute monster of a serve, probably is 130 mph plus, and he found that it was probably dropping off a bit of speed on that too. Plays currently with ProStaff's RF97s. So I think that's quite relevant. Someone who is a very physically able powerhouse advanced player did struggle to play with it. Interestingly, another friend, Jamie, who plays with the Pure Aero, was interested in it. Found that it lacked spin. He commented though actually that he quite liked it, and he does play with quite compact strokes, quite reliable, and I think the aero helps him with a bit of lift there. So again, another advanced player, physically strong, but he has a slightly I would say less full swing than I do or than Seb does, and he got on with it much better. So I think then maybe there is another perhaps target group. People are looking for bit of reliability, bit of control with the 98 head, but ultimately looking for power. So there was remaining a bit of a rattle, I felt, and I don't know whether that's the X stamp. I'm now spending more time with the 300 grams review to come out on that. As you can tell, this isn't something I could play with. We'll hold on to it for certain target groups and what we do here at Tennis Euphoria. Tough racket to use. Great to see something new though. Thoughts on the 300 gram to come out next week. Thanks for watching. Subscribe for more reviews.